Hello and welcome to Running for the Bus, presented by BKDMC, supported by Runna and hosted by me, Ben Kelleher. Elizabeth Pehota joins me today from Boston. We're going to get into her running journey with multiple sclerosis, her world record attempt which she's taking on October 12th, and how she uses her platform in the sport to raise awareness and to support others. Elizabeth, thanks for coming on. How are you?
Thanks for having me, Ben. I'm great. I'm happy to be here.
It's a pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on and getting into it all today and also telling us about that exciting world record that you're taking on soon. So first of all, could you just sort of tell me how you got into running in the beginning?
Yeah, so I was more of a casual runner earlier on. Like throughout college, I would maybe run like 3, 4, max 5 miles just for a workout or when I was away trying to move my body, not having access to a gym. I went to Boston College and Marathon Monday was a foundational part of my college experience. And every year I was so inspired by the runners and I would cheer them on at mile 21. And I'd say to myself each time, I want to do this one day. And it became a bucket list item for me. So at the time, I was a cheerleader. So I was cheering for Boston College, and with nights and weekends, the schedule that we had, it just didn't accommodate for marathon training because I was working or, cheering so many different games.
Yeah.
And after graduation from BC, the same thing happened because I was a cheerleader for the Boston Celtics. So my schedule just didn't accommodate it for a long time. And when I finally took a step back from cheerleading, I said to myself, okay, this is the year I'm finally going to run the Boston Marathon.
Yeah.
And so I always thought I was going to be a one and done marathoner, but COVID happened. And so I was training for the 2020 Boston Marathon. I basically did all of my training. I was running for the Patriots Charitable Foundation, the New England Patriots, the football team American football team over in the States. And I was a reporter at the time for the New England Revolution, the MLS team, and partnering with that charity with the Patriots. So when the marathon got canceled and postponed to September, it was made virtual, and I was still on the hook to run it because I was a media personality and I had raised $10,000. And so,
Wow.
so I embarked on a journey to train for a virtual marathon, but I was devastated because I had done all the training, all the fundraising, and I just didn't get that reward of running on
Running through
marathon.
the streets in Boston. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to run the Boston Marathon. You don't sign up to run 26.2 miles in your backyard, and especially not for your first marathon. But I was lucky and I had a great experience with a virtual marathon. My entire family was there. I had cousins who came in, aunts, uncles, my grandma, a couple friends, and I hadn't seen them in over 6 months because of COVID. So every time I saw somebody new on the course, it gave me like a jolt of energy. And, my brother and sister, they were, driving around and like dancing on the car, passing out gels and things like that to me so I could keep fueling. My family made signs and they were all over the place chasing me around. And actually, we had the Patriots and the Revolution teams out for content, and they got some really cool finish line photos where I'm crossing through this monument. I ran it in Rhode Island, and it's this epic photo where I'm like coming through a finish line that we made at home, and this beautiful monument in the background. And so it ended up being really special and something that I didn't expect because I trained for so long. My goal was just to break 4 hours.
Yeah.
And I ended up running like a 3:36, 3:37 marathon.
Wow.
But granted, take it with a grain of salt because what I didn't realize at the time is like I stopped my watch directly at 26.2.
Sure. Yeah.
But I had some coaches that at the Revolution that said, "Hey, you're pretty fast actually. Like you could probably shave some time off if you actually wanted to qualify for Boston."
Yeah.
And so that kind of sent me on a journey to learn how to get faster and qualify for Boston. So the following year, I ran the Chicago Marathon and I trained for it. I was crushed because I had an 83-degree day in October. It was brutal.
That is
It was
not what you need. That is not what you need. I had a similar one in New York in 22 where it's super hot. And it's not what you need. It's not what you expect either, is it?
No, I actually was on the sidelines for that race for New York 22, and it was brutal. One of my best friends was running. So it was kind of similar to that. Like I was sweating already at the start line for Chicago, and I kind of knew in my heart of hearts it wasn't going to happen, but I was still going to try. And I realized about halfway, okay, this isn't realistic, but maybe I can, like have a negative split half marathon on the end. And with the temperature getting hotter, it wasn't possible. And I remember at mile 21 just like sobbing because that's where Boston College is on the marathon course. And it just hit me that it wasn't going to happen that day. And so I think that race I finished with like a 3:51, which was my first official marathon. And I was, happy to have done it, but I was like crushed that I didn't get a fair shot. I
Yeah.
felt like if I didn't meet my goal and I had okay weather conditions and I put in my all, I'd be okay with it. But I felt like the weather just didn't allow me to perform the way I wanted to.
Yeah.
So I ended up running a local race 3 weeks later. Everyone thought I was crazy. My boyfriend, now husband at the time, was like, "There's no way that you're actually going to run this." I think I signed up maybe like 2 or 3 days
Wow.
before, and it was Halloween weekend, and we actually went out on Halloween to see some friends. And he was like, "You're just not getting up in the morning and running a marathon. There's no way." And
That's
so
all the
anyway, I got
motivation
up.
you need.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me I can and I will.
Yeah.
And so the next day I got up. My mom came out. A couple of friends came out. I ran a local marathon called the Charles River Marathon. It's 10 loops around a 2.6 mile route around the river. And I actually BQ'd. I finished 3:29:15,
Wow.
and I was so proud of myself.
Yeah.
So that was my journey to get back to the Boston Marathon. And kind of in the process, I just fell in love with running, the adrenaline. And it's funny because at the time it was COVID, so there wasn't necessarily a big community around running in person,
Yeah.
especially, but there was online. And the more that I've gotten to know running, I've fallen in love with the community. And now here I am. I've run 13 marathons. I'm going to be running 14 soon. And I've made an incredible community along the way and met so many amazing people just like yourself, Ben. So I'm very grateful for the experience that running has given me.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, it's brought so many amazing experiences. Obviously, we've met at different races, and obviously in London just this past year. And I know obviously we were both out in Tokyo as well. So yeah, it's been amazing to get to know you and to find out about your story. And I can't wait to get into a bit more today. And you shared so much already about how you got into that point. Obviously, in 2022, things sort of changed quite a lot for you. And could you maybe explain like what happened then and sort of how you took that news?
Absolutely. So in 2022, I had a bit of a unexpected year. I started having some health problems around the summer. And right after I ran Boston that year, I decided I wanted to run the Berlin Marathon. So my boyfriend, now husband at the time, his name's Matt. I'll just call him Matt so I don't have to keep between the two, signed up to run the Berlin Marathon with Project Purple. And so I got COVID right after the Boston Marathon in 2022. So this is around May. And then late that month or early June, I started just to get some weird feelings. And mostly it was starting in my feet. And I was experiencing numbness, like tingling. It's the pins and needles sensation that you feel.
Yeah.
And it was really crazy because it just wouldn't go away. And I couldn't shake that something was wrong with it. But everybody I talked to just said, "Oh, you're marathon training, you're running a lot. It's just because you're putting a lot of time on your feet." And I took that and I said, "Okay, you're probably right. Let's see. It'll probably go away eventually." However, it didn't go away. And that pins and needles sort of feeling started creeping up into other areas of my body throughout the summer while I was training. So it crept up from like my feet to my ankles to my calves to my knees to my thighs and my hands. And eventually it just felt like I was being met with so much resistance when I was running, walking, or moving. And that was when I said it just didn't feel normal and I had to go see a doctor. So
Yeah.
late in that summer, I think this was around August, I went to my primary and I was very lucky. My primary was great. She believed me right away. She did some ultrasounds just to kind of check some boxes and was like, "You need to get in with a neurologist as soon as possible."
Wow.
And so when I called to get an appointment with a neurologist, like I said, this was around August, they told me they couldn't see me till December. And my primary was like, "You need to just call every day and see if there's a cancellation and try to get in as quickly as you can." And she didn't know what was wrong, but she knew something was wrong and
Yeah.
that they were going to be the ones that were able to help me. So I called every day and finally I got in September. And, I went in there and my neurologist, who I'm meeting for the first time, you see me, I'm a healthy young woman who runs marathons and looks totally okay to the naked eye. And when we were doing my exam, he noticed like one small reflex that was off with one of my elbows, which I don't know if everybody would have necessarily put in the time and the effort that he did from like that one little reaction, but he
Yeah.
called MRIs. I got 3 done. I had 2 done on my spine and 1 done on my brain. And then I also had those same MRIs done with contrast as well, which is where they like put some liquid in you and it helps you be able to see the results a little bit better.
Sure.
Then it was 5 days before I ran the Berlin Marathon. I got a call from my doctor, and I never expected to get it. He said, "Do you have a minute to talk about your results?" And, as soon as you hear that, you're not really primed for the conversation. And he basically told me, "You have multiple sclerosis." And he said, "There's no cure." And I was pretty shook when I heard that. It's not something that you really expect to hear from
Yeah.
somebody. And, it totally took me by surprise. Never in a million years did I think that there was an uncurable disease that I was going to be diagnosed with. And so he told me, don't look up a lot about it on the internet. You're going to find the worst of the worst out there, and save your questions for me. We're going to meet tomorrow.
Yeah.
And do you have any questions for me in the meantime? But we'll get to everything else tomorrow. And the only question I asked him was, can I have kids?
Yeah.
And he said, yes, you can still have kids one day. So that was the one question I asked him. I don't have any kids yet, but I just wanted to know that I could have a family one day.
Yeah.
And from there, the situation, it just kind of continued to get more real. Like, I had to go downstairs and tell my boyfriend, Matt. We'd been together for 10 years. And, while we've been together for a long time, it was still really scary to tell somebody that you love that you're diagnosed with this. And also I had it's silly looking back now, but I had that, what if he doesn't want to be with me anymore and he breaks up with me because I have this lifelong diagnosis? Like, he didn't sign up for this.
Yeah.
And, I was very grateful because he leaned in closer, although he's in the software industry. And if you tell someone in software not to Google something, it's the first thing that they do. So he actually might have been more of a wreck than I was the first day.
Sure. Yeah.
But then I had to call my parents and tell them. And, that was,
That's it.
yeah, so
Going through your own
difficult.
head at the time.
Yeah. And I think too, with my parents, they're older and they were like, we just want to take this away from you. Like, we'd rather have it. Like, we just,
Yeah.
it was hard to tell them that I had multiple sclerosis, and we didn't know what life was gonna look like. And my parents were great, though. My mom came up the next day. She came to my doctor's appointment with me to meet with my neurologist and learn more about it, which was incredibly helpful because I had no idea what questions to ask.
Yeah.
And to be honest, when you get a diagnosis like this, it's a lot of information, and it's really hard to process it for yourself when you're going through it, and also to be able to remember that information. So
Cool.
it was really helpful to have her there. And at the same time, I'm, packing up to go to Berlin.
Yes.
And I didn't even know if I could go at the time. And my doctor, luckily, he said to me, if you feel comfortable, I'm comfortable with you going over there. You're not going to be able to get your full treatment till it's approved by insurance. And I'll give you some prednisone, which is an I guess anti-inflammatory sort of drug. And it's a tiny bit of a steroid. And so he's like, I'm going to give you some of that to help minimize some of the symptoms in the interim. But if you want to go over there, I'm comfortable with you running it. And, in that moment, I was like, I've got to do this. I committed to this. I trained, I need to do this. And I think that decision to go over there really changed my life because so much happened when I was in Berlin.
Really? Wow. I think that was the sort of next question I was going to ask, really, in terms of your initial reaction. Obviously, you've talked about taking that news, but a lot of people would have been, shocked and obviously wanting to deal with it as quickly as possible. Obviously, if you've spoken to your doctor and he said, well, this is the quickest we can deal with it anyway, still a lot of people might be a bit hesitant to jump on a plane the next sort of week and fly to Berlin and run a marathon. So what made you sort of make that sort of change in perspective? What made you say, actually, no, I'm gonna go do this?
I wanted to view myself as the same person I was. And I think that's what made me decide to go over to Berlin. Was I had committed to this. I had done all the training, and the only thing that was different was I got a diagnosis. There wasn't anything I could do about it in that moment. And I wanted to still prove to myself that I was that same person and I could do hard things. So I decided that I was going to go over there and do exactly that. I knew it wasn't going to be easy. I was on a couple of drugs. I was a little bit of a drug cocktail. And obviously when you get news like that, you're not sleeping, you're emotionally not there. as much as we love the physical aspect of running, there's a huge mental aspect too. And so I knew I wasn't going to be the top of my game, but I still wanted to prove to myself that I could do it and I could do hard things.
Yeah, amazing. And then obviously you said you went to Berlin and you feel like it did change your life and your perspective. What happened in Berlin, if you could share?
Running the Berlin Marathon was the hardest thing that I've ever done. It was not easy. I wasn't sleeping beforehand. I was just crying nonstop in between in like the weirdest moments. And when I was running, it was just so physically hard. I don't know what happened, but it was so much different than when I was training. I think just like knowing the gravity of what it meant to not feel my feet, what it meant to not feel my thighs, like it was like I finally had an answer, but it wasn't the answer I wanted. And I was just really upset. And so it was physically the hardest thing that I have ever done, that race. And I was really lucky that Matt was with me because, you know, he was filling up my water bottle for me, like running over to the aid stations. And I think it would have been even harder if I didn't have him by my side. And, you know, he was filming me, he was cheering me on so I could like document the journey. And also like you put a camera in front of me and I typically perform, you know, like it's the broadcaster, the cheerleader in me.
I say the same thing. I say that all the time. Yeah. Every time they see me in a marathon, they're like, you're having the best time. You look great. Like you're hardly sweating. I'm like, I saw the camera. I'm an actor. Like I'm a performer. Like since a child. I was like, if I see a camera, I know. Like if I look bad on the camera, you know, it's been a really tough race.
Yeah, exactly. I know. In a marathon, I see the camera and I just automatically smile, and everyone's like, "Oh, I have all these awful race day photos." I'm like, I'm smiling in all mine because I saw the camera. Yeah. But yeah, like it, you know, like he was putting up a camera and it would make me smile and it would push me a little bit. And so I was really lucky to have Matt by my side while I was running Berlin.
Yeah.
And when I got to that finish line, he was really sweet. He like let me cross it first and he filmed me going across it. But when I crossed it, that was the confirmation that I needed, that I can still be the same person and I can still do hard things.
Yeah.
It validated that nothing changes, that my diagnosis is not a sentence. I have the power to change my mindset and perspective about MS. And while, you know, I'm going to be dealt a lot of challenges in my life and a lot of them are going to be physical, I'm going to be able to control that mental aspect. And that for me was a game changer. It also was the moment that I committed to running all of the world majors, because that was another goal for me to work towards, was to be able to travel around the world, doing these hard things and to make a difference. And so that really changed my life. And I'm so grateful because I do think that if I had not run Berlin, I would have been living in fear of my diagnosis, especially when it happened so quickly. And instead, now I'm letting it fuel me and empower me. And I know that my life is more challenging with multiple sclerosis and every case is different. So, you know, like my case is not the same as anyone else's, but I'm able to at least look through a positive lens and be able to control my mindset and work towards these goals that I can still set for myself because I believe in myself even with MS.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, you know, that incredible resilience that you've shown there and determination to say, actually, I can still do these hard things, as you say, is going to inspire so many people and yourself, obviously, to keep doing these races and do so many more things. And as I say, other people who've perhaps got MS or something else that's maybe impacting their life, and they can see that you're doing it and actually you can progress and do these things that you really still want to do, which is just wonderful to see. And obviously since then you've taken on, how many marathons have you done sort of since that time?
Since that time, I think I had run 4 before, including the virtual, and I've done 13. So that puts me at 9. And I'm very proud to share that my fastest marathons have been actually after my MS diagnosis. So, you know, I've continued to improve and grow since my MS diagnosis.
Yeah, well, there you go. That just proves it, right? That you can achieve those things you've been wanting to achieve and to do. And obviously use your platform to sort of raise awareness of MS and how you can still achieve these amazing things that you've done. So why do you think it's important for you to use your platform in that way?
Yeah, well, first I want to say that I originally, I when I got my diagnosis, I wanted to share it right away. And my parents were kind of like, you should probably just figure out, like, take some time to like process this before you put it out there, like just understand what it is a little bit more. And so I actually took like 2 years to kind of figure out how to live with this and like balance work and my life and everything like that. But I knew I wanted to share my story. And so I documented it all along the way because I knew that I could help people when the time was right. And so I recently shared my story this year, and the response was it was overwhelming. I shared it in February this year, right before the Tokyo Marathon.
Yeah.
And I had a whole plan. Like I had created some reels, some videos. And at that point, I felt like I was comfortable enough talking about it where I wasn't going to break down crying every time, because that started to happen when I was sharing it with like my close friends and family initially. And when I first shared that I had MS with my community,
Yeah.
I was brought to tears by the amount of support that I was getting from everyone. People were so understanding, shocked.
Yeah.
People constantly said, I never would have guessed that you had this,
Yeah.
and were surprised that I had been living with it for so long and keeping it a secret. And I had so many people come out of the woodworks that said, thank you for sharing this. I've been going through this, or my mom has MS, or my best friend is dealing with this diagnosis right now and I don't know how to help. You know, you're inspiring me to be able to show her what's possible. And so I think
Amazing.
that's what I'm most proud of with sharing this, is that I've been able to inspire other people who are going through something similar, whether it's MS, an invisible disease, a chronic illness. A lot of those spaces just aren't talked about enough. And when someone has a physical issue, you break a leg,
Yeah.
you see somebody that has a cast, you're reminded right then and there that they're going through something that's hard. When somebody has an invisible illness, it's a lot more challenging because you don't know anything's wrong. So like for the past few years, people have been looking at me and assuming that everything's fine when I've just been dealing with these challenges with multiple sclerosis behind closed doors. And so I think it's just really important to remember that you never know what people are going through emotionally, mentally, and physically. So to be able to just treat everybody with kindness, and just always be able to understand that like the way that you treat somebody else, it has an impact on them. So why not just choose to be kind to everybody?
Without a doubt, as you say, nobody really knows what else is going on in the rest of people's lives, and it's actually interesting to hear that you sort of took that time to really think about it and gain the confidence, I guess, to be able to share it with everyone, even though obviously you were quite willing to share it from the beginning. It's actually, even though you might have felt that
Yeah.
way, obviously it was a lot to take in, and to be able to share it and feel confident, and then to be able to support others, which is something you've been able to do so much this year, and I know you're going to continue to do as well. And obviously recently you made it your mission to complete all of the Abbott World Marathon majors. So could you sort of maybe talk to me a little bit like about what that journey was like, and how did you make that happen?
Yeah, so my Abbott World Marathon journey has been absolutely incredible. And I started it in 2021. The Chicago Marathon was actually my first world major. And at the time, I didn't know I was starting my Abbott World Marathon major journey when I ran that. But I've just been able
And that was the moment when
to
you had the sort of breakdown. Was that at that point? Yeah,
yes,
and where you were sort of really upset
yes.
about it, and then look at where it's led you now. So it's
I know.
remarkable.
It's crazy when you look at the perspective that it has, but my running journey has completely evolved since I've started running the Abbott World Marathon majors. And, when I set out in 2021, I didn't really even know that I was starting it. I ran my first Abbott World Marathon major in Chicago. As I mentioned, it was honestly right off of COVID, and there weren't a lot of crowds. It was pretty quiet. It was hot, and it was a very different experience. And so I'm really excited to go back there later this year, which I know we'll get to later.
Yeah.
But all of them has been so special. Boston has always held a special place in my heart. Just living here and having such close ties to the city, that really was my North Star of what I wanted to do when I started running. And from there, I just kind of caught the bug. I really loved being able to see so many different people from around the world, different communities. And I think when I ran Berlin, like I mentioned, that was the moment that I decided I wanted to keep running them. And it was good. And I think I needed a goal when I got diagnosed. Like I needed something to kind of keep me going. I'm a very goal-oriented person. And that seems like a really incredible one that I didn't know I'd be able to accomplish it, but I had like a great feeling in like my heart of hearts that I'd be able to do it one day. And so yeah, it's just running them has changed my life. I met so many incredible people. I love all of the races for so many different reasons. And it's actually kind of funny when I look back on my journey because I've run them so clustered. Like the journey took me about 5.5 years, but I think I ran 3 of them in about a year. So I did Chicago in 2021, Boston in 2022, Berlin in 2022. And then I've run a couple Boston marathons because I've qualified, but the rest of them, I ran New York 2024, Tokyo 2025, and London 2025. So they've definitely been like clustered, which has been kind of fun. And I've run a lot of races in between. And I think every race has really taught me something. You know, I feel very grateful to have learned all of those lessons. And if I were to share them, I think Chicago just like taught me the power of like what's possible, you know, like running and like it kind of taught me the power of like perseverance too, just being able to like push through that heat. Boston taught me the power of like committing to yourself and a goal because it took me 2.5 years to get to the Boston start line. You know, like that was a long journey in itself, and it was very euphoric when I finished that race.
I bet.
Berlin taught me, you know, Berlin was race of my life when I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and it really taught me, you know, that I can do anything, that I can do hard things. And that was kind of where like my mantra that I run with, it's I'm a fighter. And that was kind of like where that mantra was born, that fighting spirit.
Yeah.
And New York, that was like my breakout race. I PR'd greatly in that race, like close to 4 minutes, which was really, really cool for me. I think I finished 3:20:20. And so that,
especially in New
yeah,
York, that's not a place where many people do get a PB.
I know most people are like, you PR'd in New York, and I was like, yeah, I did. But I was just really, I was really grateful. I had great weather conditions, and I worked my butt off for that race, like to try to get that time. And it just taught me, like, you know, I can. It taught me that I can do more than I think. You know, like I can race faster than I think. I can set hard goals and all of that. In Tokyo, it taught me the power of community because that was right when I shared my MS diagnosis. And honestly, people like came out of the woodworks. And even in Tokyo, I had people that I hosted a shakeout run, and people came and were like, I had no idea you were going through this. I'm so sorry. And like that just shows like the power of like the global community, you know, like they saw this and saw me the next day in Japan and were like, I'm so sorry you're going through this. Like, thanks for sharing that, you know, and talking to me about it. And I really like felt the power of community in Tokyo. And London was just so euphoric with finishing all 6 world majors. And it really just taught me that like I can believe in myself, I can do anything, and like anything is possible beyond your wildest dreams, and to keep chasing them because you just never know what can happen. And I'm so grateful because I've grown so much from the Abbott World Marathon journey, like, as a person, like with a community and storytelling. And I'm just so incredibly grateful for my journey running the world majors. And it's only going to continue from here. I guess I'll share it here on the podcast, but I'm actually running the Sydney Marathon. So I'm going to earn my 7th star in August. This is breaking news because I haven't shared it yet on my personal profile. So you can hear it here first.
There we are. There's some very exciting news. Well, I mean, that's amazing news, isn't it? To be going out to Sydney and to be running it in its first official year, you know, as the 7th major. So it's going to be super exciting. And as you say, I think the actual Abbott World Marathon Majors are such a special sort of collection of races, and the community that you see along the way, and the people that you see when you go to those races all around the world. As you said, I've never known so many people that I've known in a race than when I did Tokyo, which is crazy to me because it's the other side of the world. And yet I just, you know, I had people talking to me during the race. We went for breakfast with different people. I went for lunch with friends. We're catching up, and it was amazing. As you say, I fully embraced the idea of the community there, and obviously then in London this year as well. And I was fortunate to give out some of those 6-star medals, and sort of seeing the journeys that people have been on. I think that's what makes that so special, is because each race tells a different story, and it's a different part of people's lives. And my 6-star journey started in 2014 when it was my first ever marathon in London, and then I didn't do another marathon for 8 years. So, and by the time hopefully I do Boston next year, it'll be like 12 years for that journey. And so it's so interesting to find out the different ways people do it. And also then people who maybe have done their first marathon in London, and I remember them coming over and sort of saying, how do I get one of those? How do I get that? And that happened quite a few times. People were like, how do we get that? And I was like, you've just got to run all of the 6 majors and now also the others as well coming up. But it was interesting to see, and people were like, oh, okay, I want to get one of those for sure. So it really is a special community and brings people together, and just like it has us. So I'm excited to see you continue that journey, obviously with Sydney, and then obviously the other races coming up as well. And obviously everyone sees you sort of smashing it on race day, and they can see like you know in Tokyo, in London, in Sydney, and so on. But I also wanted to sort of think about a little bit more your training and how you manage to maintain it when things get tough, because obviously there is, for everyone it does, let alone with having to do it whilst managing MS.
With regards to MS, I've had to change how I live my life. I have to be hyper aware of my body. And I know we all talk about listening to your body with running, but I have big repercussions if I don't listen to it on a daily basis, not just with training.
Cool.
So I have to be really aware of what's going on and anticipate what my body needs. Some of my symptoms with MS are fatigue, and everyone who has MS is different. It's a snowflake disease. So people can have some similar symptoms to me, but some people can have totally different ones. And there's totally different degrees of MS, different types. And so I just want to put that out there that like my symptoms are not necessarily the same as someone else that they're dealing with. So I deal with fatigue that can hit like at any time. And it's very different from I'm tired. Like, you know, I'm tired is like, okay, I can power through this, and we all experience it. The fatigue that hits with MS is kind of like a brick. And I've quickly learned that like there's no coming back when I hit that fatigue wall. Like I'm kind of done for the day. I need to like do my best to just relax and kind of like restart in the morning. That's kind of like my process for when that happens. And I'm not talking necessarily like fatigue on a run, like because I plan and I fuel for those. But sometimes it happens like I notice a lot it happens if I'm not eating enough. And that's something that I have to like be really, really careful of, you know, making sure I get enough like protein, making sure that I'm eating frequently. So like, I'll give an example. Like if I, you know, was doing things and I was out and about in Boston, cause this is a real example. And I was walking back from a work meeting. I didn't have time to eat lunch. It was like 2:00. Generally I could have powered through something like that. I think I was a 10-minute walk from my apartment at the time. And like, I just got hit with like a total wave, and like my husband had to like come out and like kind of come walk with me home, like, but it can hit at any time, and you don't really know when it's going to happen, so you just kind of have to prepare for it, and like make sure that you like have those tools, like whether it's food, whether it's rest, like you're able to like get to rest and get there more quickly. But I try to get ahead of it as much as I can. Another symptom is brain fog. So like a way that I try to combat that is I've leveled up on sleep. Like I used to just kind of do like 6, maybe like 6.5, 7 hours. Like I'd go to bed at midnight, up by like 6:30, go to the gym. And like, I have to like readjust my sleeping schedule. Like I need closer to like 9 hours of sleep a night. And I don't always get that. Don't get me wrong. I don't always get that, but like, I try to like at least get 8 hours of sleep where I can. Because it just helps me stay a little bit mentally sharper, and it like makes me like last a little bit longer throughout the day. Another symptom, I'm sure we've all had issues with this with running, like bowel issues. I won't get into the dirty details, but like that's something that I deal with and I try to combat. And it's a specific symptom to MS. Another one is like the numbness and the tingling, which unfortunately like is omnipresent for me. It does not go away. So like basically like my feet feel like pins and needles all the time, and there's nothing I can do about it. It's very frustrating. When my foot actually falls asleep, it feels like it's on fire. Because I feel like I like
when you're like running as well, is it still present at all times?
Yep. Yeah. So
how do you sort of manage that, like feeling?
So it's interesting because like I can feel like pressure, like, you know, if you were to poke me, it's not like I can't feel that, but like I just have that pins and needles sensation all the time. So something that happens when I'm running is usually when my body gets more fatigued. I am not as good as picking up my feet, so I could potentially like trip or like slide my like shoes a little bit more on the ground, but I try to be very aware of it when it's happening and like get ahead of it. I'm lucky that I haven't had like a lot of falls. I did actually have one this weekend, which wasn't great, but I was running on a trail, and I don't know if it was the trail or if it was the if it was the MS, I was like almost 10 miles into a run and just like I actually took a tumble. Honestly, it was kind of a graceful tumble. I wish I had it on video because I kind of felt like a ninja. Like I went down and I like tucked in a ball and then like I landed and I like stopped my watch. Like
really rolled through it. I love those. It does happen as well. Like I've had it before. I was running through like Clapham once, and I just literally was coming off like one of the sort of pavements, caught my foot and just went flying, but just rolled it through, rolled back up, and just carried on running. And people were like, "Are you okay?" Said, "No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm fine." There's a little bit of pride that you find in those moments. That I'm still intact. It's only later down the road you're like, "Oh, actually, my leg is bleeding."
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh, my back's a little scratched. Like my hands are all cut up, but it's fine. Finish the run, which powered through. Sometimes I can't finish runs if I do for the most part, or like I have to adjust. Like if I'm running like 16 miles and I can't do all 16, I'll call it at 14 because my body is just like not feeling it, or I'll rearrange my schedule. Like if I was planning to do speed work on one day and I woke up and I'm just not feeling up to it, like I'll push it to the next day and switch around for an easy run. Like I do a lot of that of like I'm not strict on necessarily the days I need to get everything done, but I try to get like everything that I need to in my marathon training schedule with regards to like speed work, tempos, like lifting, easy runs, long runs. Like I try to get it all in, but I'll rearrange the days based on how I feel, which might be challenging for some people, but it's just kind of the way that I have to do it. And then with regards to the numbness and tingling that you were talking about too, it's actually really interesting. I was cleaning out my shoes recently. My husband and I just moved. We bought our first home, which is exciting, but we had to do a lot of cleaning out because it turns out when you're a runner, you have a lot of sneakers, and I get an emotional attachment to them. Like, oh my gosh, I ran this race in that pair, and this was like my first set of trainers I ever owned, and those sort of sentiments. And so I actually found my sneakers from 2022 that I raced in for the Boston Marathon. I trained in for the Berlin Marathon, and I ran the Berlin Marathon. And it was really interesting because the Boston 2022 shoes, like they looked pretty perfect with regards to like the treads on the bottom. Like they were still all intact. I'd only run that one marathon on them. And then when you got into my training for Berlin, it was really interesting because you looked at the front of the treads, like where the toes are, and they were all ripped up. Like, because that was when I started to experience the numbness and the tingling. And then when you looked at my race shoes, it was the same thing. I ran one marathon on them, but the tops of them were like really ripped up, and the tread was actually like off of them because of the tripping and not be on my feet. And I've learned how to adjust to it since then, but it's been a bit of a process. But I think the biggest thing with my symptoms and being able to marathon train is that I give myself a lot of grace. And that's something that I have not been good at throughout my life. I've really been hard on myself. I've tried to push through things with regards to my career, with regards to running, with regards to everything that I'm doing. I've always tried to do a million things at once. And now I've learned over the past couple of years with multiple sclerosis that I need to give myself grace. If I can't do something in that moment, it's okay. I'll get it done. I will shift around what I'm doing for the day, my priorities, and I'll rearrange them and give myself that flexibility, because it's okay that I can't get it done right then and there, or I need to change a run for a different day, because I need to do what's best for my body. I need to do what's best for my health, and I need to respect myself. And that's been honestly a really big learning journey and something I'm still trying to get better at.
Yeah, no, I feel you for sure. And I think that's something that lots of people can work on as well. And sometimes those moments actually make you readjust and reassess and appreciate it even more so. So obviously you've touched on it slightly already, but like this year you've set yourself a new goal, and that's going to be at the Chicago Marathon on October the 12th, which will actually be in just over a week's time. And this episode goes out because this will be going out at the start of October. So can you tell us what that is and what people can look forward to seeing in a week's time?
So I am attempting to break the Guinness World Record for the fastest female marathon with multiple sclerosis. I am very excited about it. The current world record is 3:53:02, I believe. And so I am going to smash this goal. I'm going to shatter it.
Yeah.
So basically I'm trying to run a 3:15 marathon. Wow. And I put in a lot of work training. This would be a huge PR for me, but I kind of just I want to make a lot of noise about MS, and I want to make a lot of noise in this space for a great cause, and be able to do something good with my diagnosis. And I think that's kind of been like the goal since I got diagnosed, has been to like make a difference and be able to do some, like make lemonade out of lemons, right? Like do something good with this. And so I came up with this idea that I wanted to break the world record and like do it in a big fashion, because I've broken 3:53 before. in a lot of races. And so I decided, okay, let's shatter this. Like, let's really go for this and really break it, and let's make a lot of noise. So I kind of came up with this slogan, I guess you could say. It's called Project MS. And it stands for not only multiple sclerosis, but really misconceptions shattered. And the whole idea about running this marathon and this campaign is that I want to make noise about MS, invisible diseases, chronic illnesses, and what it means to live life with them, because people, they don't really know a lot about it, and a lot of people don't talk about it. They're really not talked about very often. And so I want to be able to bring a lot of awareness to the space. I want to be able to raise money to combat multiple sclerosis. And I've actually teamed up with the MS Society, which I'm really excited about.
Amazing.
So yeah, so I'm doing it on my own accord. I had my own bib. I qualified for Chicago, but I'm setting a goal to raise $10,000 for the MS Society.
Wow.
I really want to make a difference and be able to make a big impact, and just create a lot of noise in that space. And I'm hoping that when it's a when, and I feel very confident in that, I break the world record, that there will be a lot of publicity for it. There will be a lot of people talking about this, and that invisible diseases will finally get the recognition that it deserves, so that people understand a little bit more what it's like to live with that. And with MS specifically, I'm hoping that I can inspire a lot of people and give them hope for the diagnosis. Like, a lot of people take it as a life sentence, and you don't have to. You choose the way that you look at your life and what you do with it. And while maybe you can't control your physical symptoms, you can control your outlook. And so I want to be that beacon of hope, that light for people that are struggling with something, whether it's adversity, MS, another invisible disease. I want to be able to be a role model for them, for people to look up to and say, like, I can set out on that goal that I wanted to have. Like, that doesn't change because of multiple sclerosis. Like, maybe it looks a little bit differently and I'll achieve it differently now, but I can still set out to do things that I want to be able to do and achieve. So I think it's going to be a really awesome campaign. I'm so excited about it. And I know race day is going to be really exciting. Yeah. I'm sure it will come with a lot of challenges, but I feel very confident in my ability to break the world record. And I can't wait to shatter so much more with that, like shatter that time, shatter the misconceptions, and just really be able to raise a lot of awareness about it.
I love that. And I know you're going to. You're absolutely right. You're going to smash it. And I can't wait for people who are listening or watching this now to see you do that in a week's time from now, and also to be able to see the journey along the way and to be able to support you. And we'll obviously share out the link for people to donate as well and to support you. And I can't wait to cheer you on from London as well for Chicago. It's going to be an incredible day, and what a course and what a place to do it as well. So obviously good luck with it all, and enjoy every moment. And I guess for you as well, what would you like to take away personally from this experience that you're about to embark on?
I want to be able to take away that I helped people. I want to feel that I was able to make a difference, not only financially with the MS Society, which is a huge goal of mine to raise the $10,000, but I also want to feel like I was able to inspire people and I was able to make a difference in their life. Because when I got my diagnosis, I didn't know anybody with MS, or honestly in an invisible disease. Like, it's just not talked about. And I think I want to be able to make enough of an impact and spread awareness where people understand that people are going through things that you don't necessarily see.
Yeah.
And if I can make, one person's life a little bit easier or inspire one person through this, it will make a huge impact in my life. And I think being able to break that record, and even if I didn't, but I feel very confident that I will, I think this is a great opportunity to just be able to connect with other people and share that you're not alone. Because I felt alone when I got my diagnosis. Like, I just didn't know anybody. And I don't want anyone to ever feel like they're going through this alone.
Yeah.
So that's my goal, is to be able to connect with people and be able to just make a big difference in that way.
Absolutely. And I know you're going to, and it's going to be just amazing. And as you say, I'm so pleased that you're also going to be able to take that away from it as well. And that brings me really to my final question for today. And we ask this for everyone. And for you, it's obviously very poignant and to sort of think about the journey that you've been on already, but also for others who perhaps going on a similar journey or have their own different paths that they might find. What would you say to somebody who says to you, I could never do that, I can't even run for the bus?
I would say, yes, you can.
Yeah.
The world is really your oyster. I never thought that I was going to get faster after my multiple sclerosis diagnosis. I thought running wasn't even necessarily, I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't say it was like one of my primary, like, it was a huge part of my life, but it's not as big as it is now.
Yeah.
And you're capable of so much more than you know. Like, you really define like your own limits. Like, you can push them, you can go beyond what you think. I never in a million years would have thought I would have been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. If you had told me 2 years ago when I got my MS diagnosis that I would have completed all the Abbott World Marathon majors, that I would be somebody that people look up to, championing invisible diseases, that I achieved all these things, that I'd be running the Sydney Marathon, that I'd be breaking a Guinness World Record. Like, I would never have believed you if I was in my neurologist doctor's office and he said, you've been diagnosed with this disease that has no cure, but you're going to do incredible things with it. Like, I would not have believed him. And so I really believe in the positive outlook that you have on your own world. Like, it's really important to be able to look at your life through a positive lens, and like, that has so much power in it. Because if I had chosen to look at MS through a negative lens, like, I would be living so scared, so reserved. I wouldn't be enjoying life as much. And honestly, like, MS has deepened my connections with a lot of people too. Like, and I don't just mean like people who have MS or something similar, but like with friendships, with relationships, like, you really see who shows up for you and who cares for you. And that makes a world of a difference. Who says something to you. I will say, like, if someone in your life is going through a tough time, or somebody, like, always say something. Like, it doesn't have to be a lot, but just saying to somebody, like, I'm so sorry, that sucks that you're going through it. Like, if there's
Yeah.
anything I can do to help, let me know. It makes a huge difference. A lot of times people don't want to necessarily hear like, oh, my second cousin's neighbor has something similar and they're doing great. Like, sometimes they just want you to say, like, I'm sorry that you're going through this. And that's really tough.
Yeah.
I think I've learned a lot about how to handle tough situations through this as well. And also, if you have a story, share it. It can make a huge impact. Like, I never would have guessed that I've even helped some people at this point. Like, for the Boston Marathon, that's, probably my Super Bowl, just because it's the city I'm from. And I know so many people in the area, but for people who came in from like all over the world, I was sitting in a Starbucks and just having a coffee, like taking a moment to do some editing in between like events and all of that.
Yeah.
And there was a woman who came up to me and she was like, "Hi, are you Elizabeth? Are you Healthy Cheers?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she came up and she told me, she's like, "I'm a neurologist. I live in Ohio. And, I just wanted to tell you that like your story is so inspirational. And I share it with a lot of my patients who get diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And like, you've been a huge hope for them. And it's really been great to follow your journey. And like, we've connected now on Instagram, and it's just one of those things where like, you never know whose life you're going to touch. So like, if you have a story that you want to share it, and you never know the difference that you can make. And yeah, I just think it's been, I never thought I'd say this, but it's been a worthwhile experience. Like, sharing my journey, and with my diagnosis, being able to help others. Like, it's just crazy. If I had looked back 2-3 years ago when I was diagnosed, I never would have imagined my life would be turning out this way. And it's, I'm very grateful that I was able to take a situation that was honestly really
Yeah.
terrible and turn it into something that's a little bit more positive. I obviously still have a lot of challenges I deal with on a daily basis, and maybe Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, they're all a highlight reel. Although I do try to share when I'm having some of those moments as well.
Mm.
I do struggle on a daily basis, and I still try to keep positive and keep working towards my goals, because you've got to be your own advocate, one, and two, like, you've got to be your own cheerleader and be able to, keep yourself going and stay motivated.
Yeah, that's amazing. I thank you so much for sharing that, and sort of giving that positive outlook, obviously for yourself, and to be able to do what you've done, but also to be able to show people the power that they have within themselves that maybe they didn't know was there, and that you've been able to find through this journey that you've been on, and it is just incredibly inspiring. So thank you again, and obviously good luck next week with the world record, obviously, when this goes out.
Yes.
And yeah, I can't wait to see you smash it. So thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you hopefully in Boston, if not before.
Yes, I hope before, but definitely Boston. That will be incredible. And for anybody who's listening too, I'd love if you follow me on my journey. I'm at healthy_cheers on Instagram. And since it's a week before the world record attempt, you can actually see me me do it, hopefully break the world record. So I hope I can connect with you guys on there. And Ben, thank you so much for having me on. It means the world. And I'm so glad that we've connected through the running community and have become friends as well.
Absolutely. And we will share that out on the link, and we'll also share out the donation if you'd like to support that, which I know I and many others will as well. So all the best of it. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.
Thanks, Ben.
Our Deliriously Mad challenger, supported by runner Fiona Forward, has dropped us a message to let us know how she's getting on in training after a few setbacks along the way.
Hi Ben, I hope you're good. I just wanted to give you an update. So as of last Tuesday, I'm officially discharged from physio. So knee's looking good. It's pretty much all better. I'm yet to do my first run, so I'll update you after that. But hopefully I can pick a race to work towards and we can get back to it. I'm really excited. Bye!
Thank you for listening to this episode of Running for the Bus, presented by BKDMC. Thank you to our guest today, Elizabeth Pehota, our Deliriously Mad challenger, Fiona Forward, Runner, and the podcast rooms for their support. You can get 2 weeks free Runner using the code BKDMC. Head to the Ben Kelleher DMC Insta now to find the tread playlist, the Rookie Runners training plan, information on how you can become a Deliriously Mad challenger, and lots more. If you've enjoyed the show, well, what are you waiting for? Hit follow and you'll be notified every time a new episode drops. We'd also love to hear from you, so do drop us a message or leave a review. See you next time on Running for the Bus, where you can listen and watch on the run, on the bus, or whilst you're running for it.